All right, guys, here we go. Analyzing graphs. Hopefully the iPad is working and on. Good job. Okay, so I took time to watch the video on this on your Edgenuity yesterday. I'm going to admit they may have overcomplicated a little bit. Really, you're just taking a simple graph and looking at how it behaves, how it works, what's going on with it. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it big? Is it little? So in order to do that, you have to have some, kind of some background information, key words. Okay, we've heard these before. X-intercepts, what is that? It's where, what? Hold on, hold that thought. We get another color. Make sure you can see this on the, right? Where a graph crosses the x-axis is your x-intercepts. Make sure you can kind of see that. Okay. What about y-intercepts? Help me out. Thank you. So about a graph that was going kind of like that. Every place that it crosses the y-axis is your y-intercepts. Then we're going to be introduced to a couple of new words this time, okay? We've known these. There's something called an interval. And intervals are basically where we're defining our graph. What parameters are given to us, or what information is given up to us, so that we know what intervals we're looking at. And they'll usually give you that information. So this might say, what does an interval look like between -2 and 3? And it'll be placed in brackets just like this. So if you have a picture of a graph, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine aren't going to be as pretty as what you'll see on your quizzes. Alright? And the graph is going, let's say, like this. What's that graph doing between -2 and 3? Can you see?
Isn't that a reflection over the y-axis?
Listen to you using like cool words, reflection, and stuff like that. And that would be right if we were talking about transformations, but this is a new term called intervals. So really we're just looking at how this graph behaves between -2 and 3. So it's going down, right? It's going down, 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 down here. I can even use a dotted line. And then right at 0, it's doing what? It's going back up. It's increasing. So if I was to describe that, I would just simply say the graph is going down, and at 0, it turns and goes back up. That's not hard, right? It's not complicated, so don't let that complicate things. Okay, so then you're also going to talk about words like this. Minimum and maximum. Make sure that's on there. Okay, so in the graph that we just used, let's see, hopefully you can kind of see that. A minimum is just going to be that valley where the graph is at its lowest point. I mean, that's what a minimum is. It's the smallest point on the graph. Where does this graph hit its minimum? So can you all see it? Yeah. So it's at 0, -2 would be the minimum. What about the maximum? Does this one have a maximum? What do these arrows mean when it keeps going up like that? You just asked me about this symbol.
It's going to infinity.
Good. This symbol that we just talked about, it's infinity, right? This is going, the maximum is going from -infinity to positive infinity. That's what that symbol means, right? It's not, but now if we had, let's pretend like we had a graph graphs don't just have valleys, sometimes they have mountains, maximums. So they might even look like that. So if you had this quiz question, let's talk about it in terms of quiz questions, because I know that's what you guys like to tackle, is let's talk about what that maximum is. What would that be? 0, anybody see it? +3 would be your maximum on that. Okay? Everybody good there? You guys have that? Not a problem? So really, you are now equipped with that little mini session to think about what your quiz question's asking you. And I'm gonna give you a couple samples. I'm gonna use my good handy eraser here. Okay, here we go. Quiz question. This is an actual question on your quiz. Don't tell anybody, I'm actually doing it for you. I know that's crazy. Don't tell my boss. Alright, so. Gotta hurry because it's getting hot in here without the air conditioner. It is. Alright, so this one's touching at -3 at. One thing I do need you guys to pay special attention to, sometimes your scale or your graph is going to be a little bit different. Your x values may be different than your y values. So if this says 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, a lot of times people like to trick you. I know it's something you need to learn now, and you need to know it. Sometimes they're not going to give you y values that are 1, 2, 3, and 4. They may change them around. Like on this particular question, it starts at 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2. So it's going by halves on the y value, but going by ones on the x value. You got to know that. So on this one, it gives you a graph that kind of looks like that. This is a tough question. Let's see if any of you can get it. What are the x-intercepts of this graph? Anybody want to come up here? Do it? Rob? Touch them? Identify them? You afraid of the camera? Is that it? Huh? No? Yeah?
Rihanna would like to.
Rihanna, come over here. Be on camera. Touch it. Come on. Everybody give Rihanna a hand. Okay, Rihanna. X-intercepts. I want you to do 2 things. I want you to circle them and then write them out in ordered pairs. Right here. Okay? And here, stand right like this. Just one step over. Okay.
Wait, are you saying
X-intercepts. Yep. Remember, the word intercept means intersection, right? Think of that, intersection. So it's basically where your graph is intersecting on the x-axis. What?
Is this gonna be the hair?
Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay. And go ahead and circle them. Awesome. Okay. Question number 1. Rihanna gets a big check mark on that. So she said the x-intercepts are right here, crosses the x-axis at -3, 0, and 1, 0. Everybody agree with Rihanna? Yep. Good? Okay.
Good job.
Yay, Rihanna. Okay, let's look at another one. So again, we're just looking at how graphs behave. Ooh, I like this one. This one's an interval, okay? And I want to take a little bit of time. I'm going to kind of... It's good to know that when you take standardized tests at the end of the year, they love to give you pictures of graphs. And then they love you to give you information about one of those graphs and have you match it to it. Quizzes do that as well. So this quiz question says, which function is positive? That's a key word, positive, for interval. Remember when we talked about intervals, we just see things that are in brackets. Positive for -3, -2. So we're looking at something that's positive between that interval, right? So then they're going to give us some pictures. And I'm going to try to hurry and get these out there and maybe do a couple more questions. And we will be done. Alright. This one's going to look kind of crazy. It's going to go like this. And then we have one that's going to go, this will hopefully be obvious to you. Okay, which function is positive for interval -3, -2? That means we're only looking between -3 and -2. That's our interval. You can block out the rest of it. So I'm going to take this red marker right here. Here's -2 and here's -3. Okay, and on this one we have -2, -3. I'm going to kind of really bold that in between those so that you can see what part we're looking at. Okay, between -2 and -3. I didn't draw this one very good, but kind of bear with me here. And then between -2 and -3, this picture looks more like this. Okay. What's the only picture that has something positive between -2 and -3? Second one, Julia. Perfect. This one does have some positive in it, but it also has negative in it. This is all negative. This is completely in the negative realm, right? But this one's the only one that's positive in that interval. You guys got that? Good? Got it? Okay. Let's do one more. These aren't hard. Again, if you know the terms, pretty easy. So you'll have one. It's going to look like this. Okay. Graphs may be crazy. And it'll say, Now watch this. You can have more than one maximum, but you have to look at your interval. If this interval says, what is the local maximum between 4 and 7, what would you say? We'll make that 5.2. What would you say? I just gave you the answer. Yeah. What is the local maximum between 4 and 7? It's an ordered pair. It's 5.22. Even though this one looks higher, and that would be a maximum, that's not in the interval that they're talking about. So make sure you pay attention to what interval they're talking about, okay? Very important. Another trick question. Because on your multiple choice questions, they're going to give you this answer, right? They're not going to leave that out. They're going to say -2, like 8 or something like that. Any questions? No. You guys got this, right? When you take this quiz, you're ready? Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, turn it off.